Welcome to Viewpoint, City of Farmington Hills. Over the past 2 years, this program has had on different speakers and different department heads to try to keep you, the public, informed on what's going on and what's current in Farmington Hills. Today we have something a little bit different. As many of you might be aware or might not be aware, there's an election coming up in Farmington Hills. Every 2 years, Farmington Hills has election for council members. There's 3 vacancies for 4-year terms and 1 vacancy for a 2-year term. And the way that's determined is the 3 top vote getters in the November election will have a 4-year term. The next one gets a 2-year term. And this time, it's a little bit different. We're having 9 members run for the city council. And we found that it was very important that you, the viewing audience, have an opportunity to hear the candidates. It's very important because these candidates will be sitting on this side of the table, the ones who win, and they will be passing legislation that directly affects you, the residents. And so I want you to pay close attention to them and see what it is and listen what they have to say, see what their views are, and see if they coincide with what your views are. And if they do, then please get out and support the candidates. And don't forget, we do have an election in November, and it's very important that we have a good turnout. That historically, Farmington Hills has not been one noted for its turnouts at the local elections, but we're going to make this one different. And with that, I'd like to introduce the first candidate who's running for City Council in Farmington Hills, Jean Fox. Jean?
Good evening. Never in my wildest dreams did I think of standing before you as a candidate for City Council. But as the adage goes, never say never. It is a privilege and an honor to have the confidence of so many of our citizens who urged on me this candidacy. Here I am, standing for election and asking your support. In the nature of things, you should walk before you run. Many paths have converged in this particular candidacy. I offer you a long and distinguished record of public service. For 12 years on Farmington Hills Historical Commission, we have worked tirelessly to see that the visual evidence of this city's long and noble past are not obliterated by proliferating condos and office buildings. We created an historic district commission, and I was honored to have been chosen its first chairman in 1981, serving until just this month when the charter demands a candidate step aside. Let me tell you about the zoning board, to which I have given 10 years service. The zoning board does not make the zoning in this city. That is done by the planning commission and the city council. But for 10 years, the ZBA has been defending the ordinance the city drew against the onslaught of those who wanted their particular project higher, wider, or more importantly, denser than the law allows. For the past 2 years, I have led this board as its first woman chairman. For over 20 years, I was a businesswoman running 3 Oakland County newspapers. For 6 years, I've served Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission, overseeing 9 parks with a budget of $8,400,000. I've worked with government at many levels, understand its strengths and limitations, and I'm dedicated to making it work to create the living we desire. Farmington Hills is a fine city. Each newcomer who moves into our midst finds that the Hills offers amenities not found elsewhere. Here there is a bit more open space, hills, special valleys, century-old trees that whisper in the wind, 3 pioneer cemeteries carefully maintained. The things which speak to the spirit and nurture the very roots of human living. Newcomers feel exactly the same as those who have lived here 30 years. This area has been a unique community of charm and ambience, which appeals to long-term residents and newcomers alike. In Farmington Hills, we do many things well. We have a wonderful senior citizens program. Thousands enjoy our recreation programs. We have the finest police and fire departments in Oakland County. And the new landscaping ordinance, which mandates trees and beauty around offices and apartments and cluster complexes, is a model. And don't we all love the flower beds as we come off the expressways and around City Hall. But despite these successes, there are issues in this election. Each year we are losing, losing, losing. Who said Farmington Hills was to be the conduit for all the traffic worming north from I-696 to West Bloomfield and Commerce and other points north? Who said every one of our lovely residential mile roads is to become 4 lanes of concrete, bordered by lanes of concrete sidewalks demanding the sacrifice of beautiful oaks and ash along the sides, replaced with mini trees which will take decades to attain any growth at all? Who said creeping commercialism is to threaten our special fine residential areas, within and without subdivisions? Do I have to move out of town to escape sirens and stress? Gene Fox says no. There are enough intelligent minds in the city and at City Hall to chart a different direction, to outwit hostile judges, to alter the course, to get back on track to where we thought we were going 15 years ago. When a satellite out in space indicates it's going to miss the target, as scientists, we know how to correct the trajectory and get it back on course. Surely on Earth, we can do as well. Unless Farmington Hills wants to end as the Southfield of 1999, we need to retarget our priorities, treasure the specialties of this unique area, which are irreplaceable, and keep our city as somewhere our children, and yes, our grandchildren, will want to live. These are the issues in this election. I stand upon these issues, and I ask your support in the campaign ahead.
Thank you very much, Jean. And our next candidate for the office of City Council in Farmington Hills is Vernon Kilpinski. Vernon, you're on.
Thank you. Thank you, people. It's people of Farmington Hills. First of all, most of you people out there know me from Chatham's and up here at the shopping center, 11 Middlebelt. That's basically where I resided for the most several years. Most of you people are wondering how you want to run for this seat, all the headaches, because there are many headaches out there I would like to see changed. First of all, the one area that concerns me is greed. The other area that concerns me is the concept of our children and our elderly. As our citizens get ready to vote this year, many people will not be overly concerned about the candidates because it's not a big season. However, what concerns them should be their city and their money. When's the last time you people had a raise? Next question, when's the last time the city raised our taxes? Probably more often than you received a raise. Next area is our recreation centers, such as our golf courses. You like seeing them disappear one by one. One of them is currently taxed extremely high by our city council. Next area of concern is our elderly. If our taxes keep going up, how can our elderly, with the amount of money they have, even expect to pay the very little food they have? If they keep soaring up the way they do, they must concern themselves with the elderly. And our children, what about them? Have we forgotten our children? The little people that have no say in our society, must they be forgotten? I certainly hope not. We have very few places for them to go. Most of the places are taken up by business and roads. The areas they play in, shopping centers, and the streets. It'd be a horrible shame to see kids like this get hurt accidentally by motorists. But the other biggest concern to me is the things our children are picking up from our adults, and that is the greed. That is the biggest drug of all, greed. It exists in government, it exists in business, it exists very much on our day-to-day lives. Why can't we cut greed out? If we could eliminate greed that exists, we probably would find a lot more things going our way, the voters' way, but they don't. Trouble is, if you were to step into an elevator, there would be certain buttons they would push. The one they would not push would be one for elderly and children and the care for human beings. The only thing they concern with themselves with is the idea of growth, which incidentally is sad because we're becoming more and more like Southfield every day. I don't want to see us become another Southfield. I wouldn't want to move to Novi either just to get away from Southfield. I live in Farmington Hills. This is our home, and the people out there should be concerned with the way our city is going. People, on November 3rd, when you decide to vote, and hope you do, regardless you vote for me or the next people, which is your right, it is your right to vote. Press the buttons, not for greed, not for an increase in taxes, but let's start thinking about our city. You know, I'm from Harrison High School. I graduated there. And one thing one thing I know, the students in that school will be learning many things during their lives. The things they pick up are the things I hope they value. We want them to learn about fair play. We want them to learn about the values and morals of our society. Unfortunately, ethics and morals are the things that seem to lack. We talk all upon our leaders to do something, and the biggest word that comes to mind, they cannot do something, is because jurisdiction, or they don't care. People, I'm tired of hearing them say they don't care. It's time to put people into our city council that truly do care about human beings. Not roads, not buildings, human beings. I'd also like to see more parks put into our city. This way the place won't be used up on business. We got enough business already. We got so many buildings now that are empty. It's ridiculous. Why don't we start using? So that's what my opinions are. So hope you vote for me, but you're right to vote any way you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon. Our next candidate for the City Council of Farmington Hills is Joan Dudley. Joan?
Thanks, Jan. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself first. I am Joan Dudley. I began service to the City of Farmington Hills in 1972 when I was elected to the Charter Commission. In 1973, I was elected to the first City Council. In 1977, I was the city's first woman mayor. I chose not to run again in 1978. We were transferred to Houston, Texas. In 1983, after moving back to Farmington Hills, I ran again for office, and you graciously elected me to City Council. And I am seeking your support for my re-election this year. I come to you this evening because I would like to share with you what I feel are the problems and the possible solutions that will be facing us in the next 4 years. I do this rather than give you just a list of my credentials, knowing that some of you may disagree with me, but hoping at least that you will agree with me that you have a right to know how I stand on these issues. I feel there's 4 categories of issues: people problems, zoning and development, quality of life, and leadership and integrity. In the area of people problems, our senior citizen program is doing very well, but there's other things that we can do, and I've learned this especially by going and listening to other communities. Senior health care, and especially dental care, is extremely expensive, and many of our seniors postpone it due to the expense. However, in our community, we have retired doctors and dentists, and there is a way that we could organize a volunteer program by these professionals and provide such services at little or no cost to the seniors and to the city. Another and more difficult problem is that of adult daycare. And this is for seniors that live with people who go off to work during the day and who themselves have a difficult time staying alone. And it can really be tied in the same category as child daycare, because there's many children that need care during the day as their both parents work. You'll probably hear some people, and indeed I've even heard one candidate say, women shouldn't work, women should stay at home and take care of their families. But ladies and gentlemen, the reality is that women either can't or they don't want to. And so we need daycare for both our seniors and our children. The way to get that, in my opinion, is certainly not restrictive zoning ordinances. The one that was just passed by the majority of the council was passed without one shred of evidence that there was any difference in the noise or the traffic or any other problems in daycare centers that took care of 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 people. So we need to be open-minded on this issue. Additionally, we have our problems with our youth. We have a lot of free time. They need a place to go that they'll want to go, and things to do that they will want to do, and that the community will feel is acceptable. If we don't find a way to provide this, then we see the use of alcohol, vandalism, petty crime. It can be provided in a variety of ways, and perhaps the most promising is an additional summer activity center for our youth in the north end of town. We have a very successful one now down at Shiawassee School. In the area of zoning and development, lately, a lot of our zoning decisions have been from the courts. I believe that the reason for this is that the governing body is not being reasonable and consistent in its thinking. Sometimes, as you know, if we give just a little bit, we'll gain an awful lot, because then the courts will not feel that they have to decide the issue and the zoning for us. Reasonable thinking and consistency is the answer in that area. The quality of life of our community is extremely important, and it's the reason that many people move here. We have a tremendous traffic problem, a lot of congestion. And one seemingly small way to assist this is through a very aggressive program of sidewalks and bike paths. Our kids right now rely on us or someone else driving a car. If we provide sidewalks, if we provide bike paths, our kids can go from place to place, and even we adults can get that healthy exercise. We need an aggressive program in this area. In addition to that, in our park program, which is coming along beautifully thanks to the $500,000 that we all voted in, that $500,000 brings us about $500,000 a year. I hope that it's used on recreational facilities and not on many other areas such as historical preservation. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, leadership and integrity. Many people have said to me on the council from time to time, "Joan, I'd like to agree with you on that. You were right, but it would have been political suicide to do so." I say, ladies and gentlemen, that's hogwash. I say that the electorate of this city want people that vote honestly and with more interest in the affairs of the city and the citizens than how their own vote will look in the newspapers. I ask you to join me in showing everyone that leadership, integrity is important in government. I ask for your support on November 3rd, and I thank you.
Thank you, Joan. And our next candidate is John Heenan. John?
Thank you, Jan. We are about to perform one of the most sacred rites incidental to our membership in this community. That is, elect 4 new members to City Council. I have lived in Farmington Hills over 8 years and still have one daughter in high school. Over those years, I've gone to many city functions and have generally enjoyed living in this city. But in recent years, I have become disappointed with the commercial buildup going on. One example is 12 Mile Road between 12 and 14. Because by profession I'm a private investigator, I was able to find out why. Imagine my surprise when I found out that these plans had been decided over 10 years ago. A consulting firm was hired and worked with our planning commission and came up with this document called Master Plan for Land Use. In it, all the reasons the commercial development is necessary are spelled out. The problem is, I don't find anyone who lives here in the city that agrees with it. I don't believe an important document such as this should be decided by consultants, appointed planning commissions, or private investigator. I believe it should be thoroughly investigated and decided by the elected officials, city council members. Help me help you by voting for me on November 3rd. Thank you.
I want to thank you, John, for taking time to come over today. And our next candidate is Ray Kassar. Ray?
Hello, my name is Raymond Kassar, and of course I'm running for Farmington Hills City Council. I feel that I'm very qualified for this position for three main reasons. First of all, I'm an attorney. I have a law practice here in Farmington Hills, and this is where I've practiced for over 3 years. I do have contacts with the business community, and I understand that the problems that they are facing. Secondly, I'm a teacher. I teach at Oakland Community College, the Orchard Ridge campus. I'm a business law instructor and an instructor in the paralegal program. I feel that this also helps me to become more well-rounded with this community and the interests and needs of the younger people. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, of course, I am a homeowner. I take great pride in my home, in my subdivision, and the people that and the businesses that surround my subdivision. I'm running for City Council because I have a great deal of energy and commitment and dedication to give to this city. I truly believe that it is a great place to live, work, and teach, and I want to continue it that way. What I'd like to see done if I'm elected to City Council, well, obviously the most pressing issue, at least in my opinion, is controlled growth. We really need it. It's very, very difficult to continue to expand the businesses in Farmington Hills when we do not have the roads that can handle the traffic. It's kind of like putting the cart in front of the horse. We have to have bigger roads, better roads, in order to allow for expansion. And until we have that, I think the best policy is controlled growth. I think another area which I would like to focus on is spending. We've got to spend more money on road repairs. After all, the existing road repairs in several parts of the city are declining, and it's very important to the residents and the businesses of Farmington Hills to make those roads as safe and as clear as possible. Third, and perhaps one of the most important areas I feel, is to continue to keep Farmington Hills a safer city. We have a terrific police force and a terrific volunteer fire department, and I would like to see continued spending on increasing both of those forces. Finally, I would just like to close with simply saying that Farmington Hills is a great place and has a great future. I would like to be part of that team, the Farmington City Council team, that guides this community into the next decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And our next candidate is Terry Seaver. Terry?
Hi, my name is Terry, and I've been in the community for 22 years now. I'm a graduate of Farmington High School. I'm married. I have 3 children that are also in the schools here in Farmington Hills. I've been a local businessman for 14 years now, and I feel I've had a good opportunity to get to know the people of this community, get to know the business people, and have a good basic knowledge of what our future is going to be as a whole in Farmington Hills. The past couple of years, we've been a very progressive city. I've had the opportunity to get the support of the people in Farmington Hills to become a council member. Of course, being new at the time and very energetic, I went after a number of things that I thought were of interest to the people in Farmington Hills. Since then, I feel I have learned more, developed basic philosophies, and I've stuck to my guns on many of the important issues. When I ran just a couple years ago, I made certain promises, and I feel that I came through on those promises, that I'm a person that people can trust and feel will work hard and fight for the issues that are tough. I worked hard on some tax issues. I was the only person that stood up and opposed the TIFA issue, which would have taken funds, in my opinion, from the school system. I fought hard for that and stuck with that. And although I stood alone, I feel I stood to be the one that was right on that particular issue when the city finally backed off. But I think as we look to the future, there are some more issues that we have to get into. Even though taxes is always one that people are concerned about, we currently enjoy a low and very favorable tax millage. That's not done by accident. It's done by design and hard work. When I first campaigned, I talked about the idea that our ratio between income from residential versus commercial and industrial was not as strong as it should be. The city has worked hard, Oakland County has helped, and just this past year we have seen a major increase in the income base from non-residential use within the city. We're right now enjoying one of the strongest bases our city has ever had. As a matter of fact, we as a council were able to roll back the tax millage just this last year. That was a promise that I was involved in making when I became a candidate. I could go on, I guess, and toot my horn, but more importantly, like to talk about the things that we have going for us now. We have a very, very good city. It's run well. And I'd like to just take a few seconds to commend the city administration, the city employees. I think right now we're running a better city than we ever have since we've become a city in 1973. Our fire department, our police department right now has a high morale. They're responding, they're coming to the city with needs. And what is our job? Very simply, to back them up. We're offering stronger laws on drug abuse programs. We're offering stronger avenues towards cutting back on juvenile crime. We're looking for stronger ordinances within our city. But when we look to the future, these are just a number of things we have to continue. We as a city council, which I'm currently a member of, must continue to give the police chief and the fire chief the tools that they need to do a better job. As we look ahead, safety has to be a primary focus for us as council members. Must improve our city as a whole. Yes, we're right now in the midst of a major road development program, but that road program is going to last for 5, 10 years. Just recently we did a census. We'll enjoy additional revenues because of the mid-decade census. These funds have to be funneled into safety, fire, police, and drainage. And along with it, our much-needed sidewalk program for major roads. Yes, when we look to the future, we're going to have to spend money, but now we can enjoy additional money from non-residential uses. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And our next candidate is Aldo Vagnosi. Aldo?
Thank you, Jan, and thanks to Metrovision for making possible these interviews with candidates for Farmington Hills City Council. If elected, I will push for more use of cable television to cover the activities of City Council and city government. I have been involved with our community from that day 27 years ago when the moving van brought our belongings to our house on Kiltartan. During that period, I have served on the school board, library board, Commission on Aging, as president of the Farmington PTA Council and the Beachview PTA, on the Community Center Board, the Kimberly Homeowners Association, and currently serve as a delegate to the Council of Homeowners Association. I am proudest of the unofficial position of Council Watcher, which goes back to the time when we still had a township form of government. That position involves attending council meetings and studying the material and speaking out, just as if one was sitting as a member. My role as Council Watcher has given homeowners and taxpayers a voice in city government that they otherwise would not have. It has also allowed me to keep a watch on spending by thorough reviews of the budget and expenditures. While I've been able to have some impact on council decisions, concerns over recent developments led me to run for council so that I can have a vote on these matters. Among these concerns are the growing spread of commercial zoning into residential areas, the traffic and road problems, the need for more youth recreation, crime, and adequate funding for the library. My first act as a council member would be to propose as a goal the preservation of our residential neighborhoods against further encroachment by commercial developers. To paraphrase our state motto, if you seek a beautiful city, look about Farmington Hills. Let's keep it that way. I would insist that no new development be approved unless it includes a plan to handle the increased traffic. As a former school board member, I believe that I can bring about a joint city school district effort to increase recreation facilities and activities for our young people. We must plan now to roll back the number of crimes that are taking place in Farmington Hills. That's why I have supported the hiring of more policemen than the council has approved at budget hearings. We have a tremendous library system, but it is being deprived each year of some of the funding that was voted by the residents of the city. In recent years, that funding has dropped from just under 100% to less than 90% in the most recent budget. The library is a valuable asset in our community. It must be funded at adequate levels to keep the excellent service. As my literature points out, experience counts. I have the experience needed to become a council member. I hope that you agree and support my election on Tuesday, November 3rd, or before that by absentee ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Aldo. And our next candidate is Joe Alcatib. Joe?
Thank you, Mrs. Dolan. I am delighted to have this opportunity to speak to our citizens about my candidacy for third term on the Farmington Hills City Council. I've lived in the city of Farmington Hills for 19 years, 8 years of which I've served on the Farmington Hills City Council. I've served as Mayor Pro Tem in 1981, also Mayor Pro Tem in 1985, and I served as Mayor in 1986. All these years that I have served our citizens, I truly and tremendously enjoyed it. And I decided to run again because I truly love the work on the City Council and I love our city, and I have some concerns that I want to make sure they are attended to. And before I speak about those concerns, I would like to also state that I bring to the council a dimension which is slightly different from the other council members, although I'd respect them all. I'm an engineer by trade. I make a living by doing engineering, and I'm a businessman. I ran my own business for 15 years. So I know what's it like to meet a payroll or pay the taxes. And with that kind of experience that I've had, I try to approach the problems of the city the same way I approach the problems in my business, in my engineering business. So basically, I'm a planner. And my motto is this: if you do not plan, you plan to fail. So in my years on the City Council, my emphasis has been on planning. When I was mayor last year in 1986, I spent a great deal of time with the help of the council to achieve complete plans for the next 5 years for the city in all important departments. And we've done that. We have a 5-year capital improvement plan. Last year we held public hearings and we adopted our master storm and drainage plan. We adopted our master parks and rec plan. We also had the police department make a 5-year plan for their anticipated growth in the next 5 years. The fire department did the same thing and kindly asked the library to do the same thing, and they have their own plan. So now with these plans, let me mention one more plan. We also conducted a survey last year when I was mayor on roads, and we had a tremendous response from the people, and we used that survey to come up with our roads plan. And some of you that travel around town and see all the construction that's going on, that is partly due to the result of that plan that the City Council adopted last year. I believe planning is very important, and that's why you can see that our city is run very efficiently. I don't take all the credit for it myself. It took the team of the 7 council members to get all these things moving forward. And I appreciate the ability that I have to work with them, and I also appreciate them because they do work well together. So we have a good city council. We have a good city. We get a lot of compliments. When I was mayor last year, we only got a few complaints, but a lot of compliments, so I'm proud of that. I have one concern for the future. I think roads will continue to be our big problem, but the second major concern I have is the solid waste disposal. If we don't take major steps immediately, like in the next few months and the next year, to plan for what we're going to do for our solid waste disposal, we're going to be faced with tremendous costs in the future. This year we've already experienced one big increase, and we're looking at probably other increases down the road. There are ways to contain this problem, and we're working on it. I have some of my own ideas, but I like to concentrate on that. And in general, I think I've served the city very well. I enjoyed serving the people of Farmington Hills, and I would like to have the opportunity one more time to see that the city gets its final growth pattern in the way the people of Farmington Hills want it to happen. I thank you for the 8 years that you have given me on the City Council, and I appreciate it if you would give me another 4 years. And in closing, I'd like to say this. No matter what you do on November 3rd, please remember this is the 200th anniversary of the United States Constitution, the 150th birthday of the state of Michigan, and use those 2 dates to remember to vote on November 3rd. I do urge you to vote, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. And our final candidate for this program is Richard Latunick. Richard?
Thank you, Jan. I'm Richard Latwinick. I have one of the difficult names to say, but I want to make it easy for you to vote for me. I know Farmington Hills is a wonderful place to live. I've been living here for 13 years with my wife, Mary Ann. We have been married for 24 years. My daughter, Lisa, attends Lawrence Institute of Technology and taught as a freshman at Harrison High School. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and graduated from Eastern Michigan University with a major in mathematics and music. I also earned a master's degree in education administration. I taught school in Livonia, Michigan for 10 years and have been an independent small businessman for the past 15 years. I've been past president, treasurer, and road commissioner of Spring Valley Civic Association and representative member to the Council of Homeowners Association of Farmington Hills. I want to be active and participate in Farmington Hills' future as your councilman. Shortly after we moved to Farmington Hills, my home and several neighboring homes were broken into. We have instituted a neighborhood watch program. When we see suspicious cars, we write their license plate number and automobile description. When necessary, we report this information to the police department. Many neighbors have installed burglar alarms. This helps to have a safe subdivision. Each year in the spring, we have a cleanup program. This helps to have a clean subdivision. Occasionally during the year, neighbors stop to pick up debris when guests forget and litter our roads. Once a litter bug accidentally left his old ID card in his garbage. We turn this information over to the authorities. The police department need our help. They can't do it alone. We need to let our police department do their job and permit them to keep up with the growth of our city. But they must be frugal when spending taxpayers' monies. We must let our fire department continue to do a good job and meet the needs of our city as economically as possible. As your councilman, I will study zoning variances so residential areas remain residential and business areas remain business as usual. Let's keep the master plan. We need to let our maintenance department continue to do the good job that they are doing and provide them with the proper tools to keep our roads safe, clean, and up to date. Let's permit our recreation department to continue servicing our community, both young and old alike. Let's not forget our senior citizens so they may enjoy their golden years with a safe, clean city with many recreation activities. As your councilman, I will have an open ear to your concerns and suggestions. Let's keep Farmington Hills safe and clean, and don't forget our senior citizens. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd, and please vote for Richard Latwinick.
Thank you, all candidates. This has been a different format for the viewpoint of City of Farmington Hills. I hope you've enjoyed it. We have tried very hard over the years to get current information to you, and I think this is very current, very current. Very important that you have an opportunity to see and listen to the candidates that are going to be making the decisions for the next few years in Farmington Hills. I urge you to get to candidates' nights any opportunity you have so you can question and meet these people in person. Also read the local Observer, because I'm sure they will be providing lots of information in the Observer. And tell your friends, remember, it's so important that you vote in the Farmington Hills local election. It makes a big difference to you. This is one place that your vote counts. You probably recall in the past that we've had some elections decided by just one vote, and that can be your vote. Please remember, November 3rd, to vote for the City of Farmington Hills local election. And thank you for watching this unusual and different program of Viewpoint, City of Farmington Hills.